Chapter 3. A recap. In the previous chapter, we learned about Rudy, a very troubled person, an antisocial and lonely man, barely surviving on his boring unmotivated job. His wife Angi had drained his bank account. But luckily, she had gotten some money from her father's inheritance. But Rudy is facing bad and unexpected news. The kind of news he never expected to hear. His one and only daughter got into an accident. She is in a coma now. In the first chapter, Rudy was on a hunt for something. We are not sure exactly what he was looking for, but we could only guess, it might have something to do with saving his daughter's life. After a long trip, he arrived in a mysterious place where a group of strange people was with him. He clearly showed some suspicion and lack of trust to the point of even trying to escape, assuming they were going to kill him. Now let's continue. Piercing the multi-dimensions. I also started to laugh at myself. Why would I think of that? Why would they want to kill me? There was no reason. It must have been a mixture of the pebble and mushrooms dust. And maybe that cactus juice I had earlier. I was told there might be some hallucinations, and one weird guy was mentioning something about that dust might allow a person to peer into other realities. Maybe some things I saw were a merged reality from multidimensional realities? The old guy explained to me that they don't know exactly where the shaman is because he doesn't have a permanent place. The shaman is always on his journey, always growing and learning, so he never stays any place twice. As a result, they would have to send a signal for him to come or respond with another signal. Then we will know what to do. It is not a guarantee that he will show up. It all depends on if I am worthy, then he will call me. But in some cases, the shaman may never show up. There have been situations where some people came with many problems in me and waited for months, but the shaman never showed up. I knew this was a scam. After walking for 3 long days, you are telling me there are no guarantees? I yelled at him. Give me back my money. I paid so much for you to take me here, now you telling me he is nowhere to be found? Patience. Mr. Rudy, patience. The old guy calmly extended his right arm on my shoulder, looking down on me, with his piercing brown eyes with a covered face like those characters of Arabian Nights, saying, "The money you paid us was for us to show you the way. To guide you where the shaman is. Whatever you do here is up to you. Mr. Rudy. We can lead a donkey to an oasis of water, but we can't force it to drink water. Mr. Rudy understands?" He is using his riddles again. I was furious, but finding my emotions suddenly quenched down like a stick of fire thrown in a pond of water. He has a good point. I wanted to come here. These people are just tour guides. They told me they will help me to get here. So, I just have to wait. Even though I wasn't sure if it was the tone of his voice that convinced me or the logical argument of his statement. Summoning the shaman. Gather round, the old guy commanded. We gathered around, forming a circle. They started a fire in the middle of the circle. The people who emerged from the bush were just merchants looking to exchange things with us. So, they provided us with some food, blankets, water, and even liquor. As time went by, some people were drinking, some telling stories about how much they love their wives but are happy to take a break from them. Some had already drunk too much and started dancing and singing around the fire. Quote, "When we walk the valley of danger, we will not be afraid. Whenever a threat is upon us, courage stays on the front row." Suddenly someone screamed, "Cover the flame, Rhino Mama is on the loose." Everybody panicked and ran for cover. I didn't know what was happening, my legs were weak. I couldn't run, I froze there full of fear. While everyone left, I saw a huge brown and muscled rhino. It ran straight to the fire, stamping it down, until the fire was neutralized. Rhinos are protectors of forest fires. They prevent it from spreading in the forest. There I was, frozen in fear, unable to run. My legs were weak and shaking. One of the guys was hiding in the bush. He decided to run further away. The rhino spotted him and started to chase him. The rhino was faster. The rhino caught up to him, hitting him with its horn. Lifting flew him over 15 meters high. I am sure he died then and there. Another person couldn't hold his mouth shut. He was screaming, "We are all going to die here." The rhino went after him, stamping him over like a pancake. The rhino saw me, then she came charging towards me. I knew this was my moment of death. I recited these words in my heart. Sorry, Malkia. I tried, I did everything I could with my life, to be there for you, to save your life, to give you all of me, but sorry, I am leaving you without accomplishing my mission. There I was, waiting for the impact, waiting to know how it feels like to be killed by a rhino. I closed my eyes. Not what I expected. There was a sudden silence. I first felt a heavy breath blowing on my face, and then I felt its tongue, trying to reach for my face, licking me. I didn't know rhino eat meat, I wondered. I slowly loosened my guard, opening my arms and my eyes to see what was happening. I saw a rhino with serene eyes, looking at me as if she knew me. She was waiting for me to pat it. Then I tried to reach for the forehead. Touching her, she let me and bowed her head for me to continue touching it. What's happening here, guys? I shouted. The old guy came out of the bush, clapping his hands, with eyes full of fear and surprised at the same time, saying, "It's the color of your shirt." The patterns, rhino's emotions are calmed by the color green. Not every green, but the kind of a green pattern on your shirt. On top of that, the scent given off from your herbal tea triggers her emotions of joy. Oh, I remember getting these items from the open market. My fiancé insisted I should have these. There are so many special things about her. Congratulations, Mr. Rudy, I think you must have passed your first test from the shaman. What? I exclaimed. You mean to tell me the shaman is trying to kill us? No, Mr. Rudy. You see, the path to a shaman involves personal sacrifice, courage, and patience. Shaman is not just another dude in your contact list. You can just reach them whenever you feel like. Your commitments and true intention must be tested. And you must be prepared in every state possible to reach them where they are. That rhino is yours now, he is your protector. Whenever you need her, she will be there for you. So, what do we do now? I wondered. Ask the rhino, he will guide you to the shaman. The old guy said. Rhinos don't talk. How am I supposed to talk to animals? I don't do Dr. Dolittle here. I know that, Mr. Rudy. But they can hear you. Go on now. Ask her whatever you want to know. It was as if the rhino had heard us. She started to lead the way. I followed her. A few minutes ago, I was about to be turned into a pancake by this strong creature. Now it is my tour guide? Not okay with this. I wonder how I should react to this. Does it mean I can take it wherever I want? The government won't allow it. What will I feed her? I never thought of having a rhino as a pet. I had these impressions that triggered memories of my ex-wife when I was dating her. She used to tease me with these phrases like, "Don't get ahead of yourself." Then I thought of a mother breastfeeding its baby. But mothers don't hug their babies when they breastfeed them. And in my mental images, emanating lights were coming from the heart of this mother turning into milk. Wait. Why am I thinking of these nonsense things? And then I remembered amulets. Why am I thinking of amulets? Those cartoons about the power animal spirits that can shrink and fit into an amulet. Wait. It's as if my questions are being answered symbolically. All the questions I am asking are being answered in my mind. Oh, God, no, it can't be real. It's the rhino is talking to me. I saw a mental image of Oprah telling me, "You betcha." Then I was wondering if she had a name? I then saw an image of an old wooden statue of a woman with a mixture of braided and long dreadlocks. This statue was holding a pot of overflowing water. That was her name. What would you call that? How can I compress this symbolism into one word? Maybe an oracle? Or priestess, or maybe Gaia herself? I could only interpret it with the symbolism behind these images. That an old wooden statue represents the work of man. Ancient people's work. It might have been there as a symbol of some sort of a deity or a goddess that provides life, or wisdom. Of course, with braided long hair represents an oracle or some sort of a priestess. Something very in tune with the natural world. It couldn't have been a shaman because she doesn't have any shamanic tools with her. Just a pot of overflowing water. The pot of overflowing water always means life provider. But again, this is just a speculation, maybe time will reveal it all. Because of her personality, I compared her with an old wise woman. She has that sense of knowing, compassion, and full of guidance. It was as if I am part of her herd and she is protecting me and guiding me. There is more to rhino than meets the beast. We walked for about 2 more hours, crossing rivers, valleys, and shrubs. It was interesting because, even though we encounter major large animals like lions, cheetahs, and elephants, they never even dared to harass us. It was as if they had a code: we don't hunt whoever is with the rhinos. We reached a shallow river with very clear water. Besides the river there was a tree. I could not tell what type of tree it was. But there was a rock underneath it, not too big, but big enough for me to rest on it. The rhino for some reason went straight to that tree and lay down. I was exhausted, so I joined her. I sat down on the rock, laying the back of my head against the tree. Trying to catch a breath, I took my boots and socks, so my legs could get some fresh air. Suddenly the rhino put her chin on my left leg. It was as if the rhino was waiting for me to do so. I could also say it is not my habit to take my shoes off in public. Maybe this was not my original idea and that the rhino was suggesting it to me? I felt lightheaded. I stepped inside her world. Inside her mind. I could feel her strong body. I felt her strong heartbeats. At first her heartbeats were racing at a different rate compared to mine. Then they started to synchronize and soon they became harmonious. My heart and the rhino's heart were in one harmony with the same beats. The ocean of consciousness. I was in the ocean of consciousness, which appeared to be animalistic, but there was a thread, or should I call a stream of consciousness, that was beyond animal instincts. It was slowly oozing out inside the animal consciousness. I allowed it to come to me. Then this other consciousness began to become clearer. Soon the animalistic consciousness faded away. I had entered another layer of the rhino's consciousness, the part of her that is divine. There were layers of consciousness like different floor levels, but these layers of consciousness and multi-layered one on top of another. As I was drifting deeper and deeper into her higher and divine consciousness, I was in a place that appeared to be like a desert. More like a grave of dead giant trees and animals. Lots of animal bones here. It seems like it used to be a part of the thick forest that I could see ahead of me. What happened here? There was a river coming from that forest. But because the desert was so dry, the river could barely reach the outer edges of this consciousness. It was not able to penetrate lower levels of the consciousness of this rhino, so somehow whatever was hidden within the consciousness of this rhinoceros could never reach our world. I saw it drying and becomes polluted before it reached the horizon. I marched towards the forest, which was emanating light from the center. As I reached inside the forest there was a garden. In this garden, there were all kinds of plants, beautiful and magnificent. There were only small creatures like birds, squirrels, and bunnies, but I didn't see any larger animals. The river was flowing from the mid-center of the forest because of what appeared to be like a stepped circular mountain with a big plateau at the top. The rivers were flowing on both directions from the circular steps, making it look like a giant fountain. At the very top of that mountain, there was another beautiful garden. At the very center of the garden, there was a giant biological egg-like dome. As I was approaching it, it opened its petals like a blooming flower. At the center of this dome, there was a very large cucumber-like fruit. Its size was about 3 times my height. The cucumber was at the very center of the garden. This cucumber-like fruit was surrounded by a variety of other larger pods-like fruits, which were nicely arranged on the petals of the opened egg-like dome. There were lots of them. I had a feeling that this was like a library of worlds, in sense seeds of worlds being preserved. The cucumber at the center opened like a blooming flower. Then I saw a woman coming out from the center of that cucumber. She wasn't the model type of a girl, but she had a radiance of beauty, with very long dark hair. Her skin was like that of a milked chai, the color of clay, which gave me the sense of earth itself. There was sadness on her face. After passing through that desert of dead animals, any human beings with emotions would expect that from her. There is a story here. A kind of story that I am waiting to hear. She gave me a smile that could only remind me of the love of my mother. At this time, I didn't take any hallucinogens or any types of vision-inducing plants. I was clearly aware of what I was seeing, and vividly remembering how I got where I was. It was not a dream. Neither was it an imagination, because everything I saw, heard, breathed, and touched were as real as it could get. She levitated closer to me, extending her arm towards my heart, touching me gently. saying, "Hello. I am Ogu Yuhi. I am the guardian of this land. I have been taking care of this place for thousands of years. I have been worshipped by many for ages before the great confusion came upon my children. I summoned you here to reveal some truths to you,